Hello there.
Guys, come on, come here, sit down. We gotta talk, we gotta discuss who the next MonsterVerse villain is actually gonna be. No more of this theorizing stuff. Let's actually break down the concrete evidence that we have of who the next MonsterVerse villain could possibly be, whether it'll be an original Toho monster or not, and let's break down who the best candidates are between Space Godzilla and Destroyah for the next MonsterVerse film. If you guys enjoy my MonsterVerse content, consider subscribing, and let's get into it.
The Atomic Fair.
Alright guys, so Space Godzilla vs. Destroyah is coming, okay? It's coming here in the next few weeks. I'm going to release it on June 20th. I know that that is quite a few weeks away, but here's the thing. I've been working hard on this video, and I have to make sure that my channel is monetized when I publish this video so that I could potentially make some sort of ad revenue off this video, as this is a video I have been working on here for a few weeks. I've done my research, I've got my notes. I'm going to record it here in the next couple days and get to the long, lengthy editing process. So look out for this video here in the next few weeks, but it is still coming. I know that it was going to come out a week ago and then a week before that, but after all of the work that I put in, I decided just to kick the can down the road one more time until June 20th. So that is when I will publish my official Godzilla vs. Destroyah video, and we will discuss who the victor will actually be. I don't think it's as cut and dry as many people make it out to seem on either side of the aisle. But that's when I got the idea for this video, because I thought, okay, if we can't do Space Godzilla vs. Destroyah, we will at least do Space Godzilla vs. Destroyah in the aspect of who will potentially be the next MonsterVerse villain and who is best to pop up in the next MonsterVerse film. Now, first things first, before I even get into this, I have to be 100% honest. I think that the most likely option right now for me is thinking that we are going to get an original villain like Shimo.
You serious?
Because of the rights issues that Toho has with Legendary, the fact that Legendary has to purchase the rights every single time they want to use one of the Godzilla villains. A lot of the kaiju that Toho wants to use are original kaiju on their own. They're not like Spider-Man, where you can just buy the trade rights to Spider-Man and then you can make movies about Spider-Man and all his movies and villains. No, you'd have to buy the rights to Godzilla, Mothra, Space Godzilla, Destroyah, King Ghidorah, all on their own individually, and that is kind of why Legendary is hesitant to introduce more original Toho monsters. But my counter for that is that I do think that with the Legendary MonsterVerse becoming as successful as it's being, and with more money being pushed into the MonsterVerse, I think there's a chance that Legendary will take a chance on buying the rights to another big classic Toho monster for Godzilla to fight. So, going with that premise, let's just say that Legendary does go and buy the rights to a new Toho monster. Who are they going to buy the rights to? Who is going to be the next villain for Godzilla to fight? So many people are peeking into the Heisei era of Godzilla, where some of the most iconic Godzilla villains of all time were introduced. This includes Biollante, Space Godzilla, and Destroyah, three of Godzilla's biggest and coolest villains ever to exist. They all have very iconic designs, and they were all big monster battles for Godzilla to take on in the Heisei era of Godzilla. Now, creatures like King Ghidorah, kaiju like Rodan and Mothra had been around already for 20 to 30 years at that time. However, modern technology allowed for the Heisei era to kind of transcend the other Godzilla eras in a different way, with the much more emotional storytelling with Godzilla vs. Destroyah and the insane death of Godzilla. I actually just rewatched that movie today, so I'm still kind of feeling the heartfelt tingles of the end of that movie and the introduction of Godzilla Jr. as the main Godzilla, but also some of the effects. While today they still look dated, at that time they were so amazing and incredible. And honestly, for me, I have a big imagination. It's really easy for me to still immerse myself in those films. So these are some of the biggest Godzilla villains ever to exist, with some of the coolest designs of all time. So we have to go into the evidence of who would be the best candidate for the next MonsterVerse movie. Now, based off of what we have already seen in the MonsterVerse, we have the introduction of a flying Godzilla with wings that was introduced in a cave painting in Godzilla vs. Kong, in the art of Godzilla vs. Kong. We got a look at this Godzilla, who many theorized was simply being carried by Mothra during the Ancient Titan War, but other people theorized that this was actually Space Godzilla. And now the long-standing theory for a lot of fans is that this is Zo-Zla-Halawa. Now the Iwi prophesies that there is a Godzilla who ate a star and became Zo-Zla-Halawa, and fans kind of took off running with that, thinking that this is Space Godzilla, this is the villain for the next movie. And I think that this is actually possible, but for different reasons other than it being a fact. So if we go back and we watch Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire, we already know for sure that Zo-Zla-Halawa is Godzilla. That is emphasized heavily in the movie. It's not Space Godzilla. Based on the writing in the movie, this is the Iwi's prophecy for Godzilla, the Titan who ate a star. That is just kind of prophecy for Godzilla kind of being really high on this nuclear radiation. I guess that's the best way to put it, or the evolved form of Godzilla, or maybe Fire Godzilla, or just a version of Godzilla who is eroding with radiation. Similar to Burning Godzilla, we know that Godzilla has this ability to absorb tons of radiation, so that is simply what the Iwi tribe was talking about when they talk about the Titan who ate a star. I think Godzilla potentially may have absorbed too much radiation. Now, there's a little bit of controversy here, because if you go over to the Monsterverse wiki, people have already made this kind of a fact that Zo-Zla-Halawa is the Monsterverse Space Godzilla, and they kind of rewrote history a little bit here. They said Zo-Zla-Halawa was once a member of Godzilla's species before the Great War. He apparently got hungry for power and ate a star from the hollow Earth. It turns out that star was the Earth's core. It made him wicked. The core was the source of life for the hollow Earth. Without it, all life on Earth would die, so the Kongs and Godzillas worked together to stop him. They were successful in defeating him as they threw him into one of the portals, trapping him in an endless void. Now, what's interesting is that this Titanverse fandom page down at the bottom under trivia, it actually even says in the real Monsterverse, Zo-Zla-Halawa is actually a name for Godzilla by the Iwis. So obviously there's a lot of misinformation and false information going around here, but the reason I think this could actually end up being the villain for the next Monsterverse movie is for a reason that I'll get into a little later in the video. Let's talk about who would be the best candidate between Destroyah and Space Godzilla. Now, I feel like you guys could probably already tell the answer based on what I've talked about in this video, but Space Godzilla is definitely the best pick for the next Monsterverse villain for a lot of reasons. So for one, Destroyah is the final villain in the Heisei Godzilla era, and if they want to keep true to that nature of Destroyah, then Destroyah is more like the final big bad of the Monsterverse. Then he would really be Space Godzilla, which would be the next villain in the Monsterverse. I don't think the next Monsterverse movie is set to be the last film, and I think it would be a little bit early for Destroyah. Now, another big reason is all of this Zo-Zla-Halawa mythology that is going around, whether or not Legendary decides to just flip the script and make this the actual facts, just like Doug in the Monsterverse, where Doug actually wasn't the original name of the Titan in the Monsterverse, but that's what they ended up calling him because of fan reception. They could easily do that with Space Godzilla and with him being Zo-Zla-Halawa, and I think it's something that could potentially happen. And I think another reason Space Godzilla is the better candidate for this next Monsterverse film is really simple, and I think it's that Godzilla needs to fight an evil version of Godzilla. I think that's what is being set up for the next Monsterverse movie. We had an evil version of Kong, we had Shimo, who was kind of like the mother of Godzilla or something, kind of just the species that maybe Godzilla evolved from, or a similar species to Godzilla. But I think we're building up, and I think we need an evil version of Godzilla in the Monsterverse. I think we either need to see another Godzilla in the form of Godzilla Jr. or another Godzilla in the form of an evil Godzilla, and I think we may get them both. I think the introduction of Godzilla Jr. while introducing Space Godzilla and an evil version of Godzilla being Zo-Zla-Halawa would be a perfect story for the Monsterverse and would get us one step closer to that final endgame Monsterverse-like movie where we could see Destroyah. Now, before I end this video, some other interesting like wikis when we talk about Zo-Zla-Halawa is people trying to just kind of reach and say that this was the overarching villain of Godzilla x Kong. saying he was an evil Godzilla who commands Scar King, saying that he was banished into some void deep in the hollow earth just like Scar King. Already giving a height to this creature, saying it's 405 feet tall, has dark purple eyes, and just crazy things like that kind of contribute to this fake narrative of Zo-Zla-Halawa actually being Space Godzilla. Like I said in this video, I don't think he is Space Godzilla as of right now. I think the potential is great that he could end up being Space Godzilla in the next MonsterVerse movie, and that they could just run with this fan mythology and kind of turn it into fact. But if we're following the trail that was set in Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire, this guy is not, this titan, this monster, whatever you want to call him, this is not Space Godzilla. This is the Iwi's name for Godzilla. Either way, I think Space Godzilla is the perfect candidate for the next MonsterVerse villain. I think there's a big chance we could get him given the crazy success of Godzilla X Kong, and I think Legendary might take another chance with some more Toho kaijus dipping into the lore just like Marvel so they can build up hype in the fandom. So comment down below what you guys think about this longer extended video talking about who the next candidate for the best MonsterVerse villain would be between Space Godzilla and Destroyah. This is something that the fans really seem to want. He took a story that fans want and went with it and made it the plot of the next movie. That would be something kind of unprecedented, having a story inspired purely by the fans. So comment down below what you guys think about my thoughts on Space Godzilla and Destroyah in the MonsterVerse. And for this video, that's all I got, guys. So until the next one, be safe and stay well.